Hello everyone, my name is Florian Reinhart. I have a PhD in neuroscience and I'm specialized in photobiomodulation for a bit more than 10 years. Photobiomodulation being the topic of my talk today. Before to start, I want to express my many thanks to all the organizing team of this congress, of course, and to express my greetings to all of you which are today with us. Thank you for this opportunity to be with you and to speak with you today. So for today I will try to introduce you to photobiomodulation, or PBM, it's the same thing, as an approach for acute and chronic pain and for acute and chronic inflammation. First of all, we need to define photobiomodulation. Photobiomodulation is the use of light to activate or to inhibit some cell mechanism, and mostly to activate some cell mechanism, as you will see just later. And the light we use in PBM is mostly visible light and infrared light. And as you will see later, it's mostly red light and visible and infrared light. Sorry. PBM is not so new, because as you can see here, in 1903, Dr. Finzen won the Nobel Prize of Physiology and Medicine for his use of PBM in lupus vulgaris. He used at that time a very big and very old school device to put light on the patient, and it was the first big step of PBM in the history. It can feel strange to use light to treat some disease or some affection, because we all think we know that the body doesn't use light so much, but it's not true. We all know some part of the body which react a lot with light, of course the eyes and the skin, but it's not the only part of the body which react with light. If we check for clinical use of light or research use of light, we can see that in clinical pediatrics the blue light is used a lot. It's the gold standard for newborn jaundice, and red light is used a lot in research only at that time in neurology to try and treat some diseases like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, and it's used a lot also in dermatology to reverse skin aging, for example. As you can see here, this graph is based on the website PubMed, and you can see here the number of publications per year about PBM, about photobiomodulation. And as you can see, the number of publications per year is increasing a lot since the middle of the 60s, and we have more than 55,000 peer-reviewed publications about PBM. The most used topic in PBM are these four ones. The biggest one is inflammation, so the use of PBM to treat inflammation. The second one is pain, and after that you can find a lot of studies about PBM to treat wound healing and to improve and to accelerate wound healing, and some publication in neurodegenerative diseases. For today, we will focus on a very narrow band of wavelength of colors of light, namely the red light and a bit of infrared light, and to be precise, between 600 nanometers and 800 nanometers, and to be even more precise, mostly between 600 nanometers and 700 nanometers. You can have here the summary of my talk for today. First of all, we will have some physiological mechanism of photobiomodulation, and after that I will show you some clinical evidences of anti-inflammatory and anti-pain properties of PBM. Firstly on healthy athletes, but after that on women suffering from dysmenorrhea, people suffering from knee osteoarthritis, and I will finish with some evidence on people suffering from mild to moderate COVID-19. Of course, I start with the mechanism. Our story today starts inside the cell and mostly inside the mitochondria. More precisely, we will focus here at the end of energetic metabolism, so in the respiratory chain. Here you have a focus on the respiratory chain. And just as a quick remember, what is the aim of the respiratory chain? The respiratory chain is here to produce a gradient of H plus between the inner space, the intermembrane space, inside the mitochondria and the inner space of the mitochondria. So the respiratory chain produces this H plus gradient, and the aim of this H plus gradient is to activate the ATP synthase here to produce ATP, so to produce fuel for the cell. Of course, you have garbage in this mechanism, and the garbage here in that topic is the electron which are here. This electron needs to be cleared by the respiratory chain, and it's the job of the complex 4 here, also named cytochrome C oxidase. And this complex 4 uses the oxygen we inhale to clear all the electrons which are not needed in the respiratory chain. That's the best case scenario. Of course, it doesn't always work like that. In case of big inflammation or cell injury or mitochondrial injury, of course, or in case of some diseases, a lot of fatigue, whatever, this mechanism doesn't work anymore, and the complex 4 is blocked by another molecule which is NO for nitric oxide. And when the nitric oxide comes to the complex 4, this complex 4 is not able anymore to use the oxygen, and the clearance of the electrons doesn't work anymore, so the global respiratory chain is blocked. It's at that time that the PBM takes the stage, because when you use red light, the complex 4 is reactivated. We don't exactly know the mechanism, but what we know is that when you use light, the complex 4 is able to use the oxygen again, and the nitric oxide is freed. So when you use PBM, you have two main consequences. The first one is an increase of ATP in the cells, so the cells can do whatever they need to do. And the second biggest consequence is this nitric oxide which is freed, and this NO is, as a response of the cell, believed to be the origin of the activation of anti-inflammatory pathways. So that's for the mechanism. Of course, it's a summary, it's a bit more complex, but you can have the big pictures with these few explanations. Let's dig in the practical way, and let's see what are the consequences on real cases and in real life. We will start with PBM on healthy athletes. This first study I want to show you is a double-blind study on trained athletes, not professional athletes, but trained ones. And this team compared, after a complete exhaustion of a muscle in the arm, they compared a placebo treatment with a PBM treatment and with a cryotherapy treatment. As you can see here, all the groups are, of course, placebo, cryotherapy, PBM, cryotherapy, then PBM, and PBM, then cryotherapy. For this first table, we checked the oxidative stress in protein in this muscle. As you can see here, in the placebo group, 1 hour after the exhaustion training, 1 day, 2 days, and 3 days after this exhaustion training, you have a big increase of oxidative stress in protein compared to baseline. It's not the case in cryotherapy, it's not the case in PBM, and it's not the case when you use cryotherapy then PBM or PBM then cryotherapy. So both treatment, cryotherapy and PBM, and both of them together, are able to slow down or even to stop the protein oxidative stress. New table, this time on lipidic oxidative stress, and it's exactly the same results. As you can see here, you have an increase of oxidative stress in placebo group, but it's not the case in treatment groups, whatever the treatment. So once again, this time on lipidic oxidative stress, cryotherapy, PBM, and both of them are able to stop the oxidative stress. Same study, other results. Here you have the ability to produce a maximal strength in your arm. So here you have a baseline, Here it's just after the exhaustion training, so as you can see in all the groups the ability to contract the muscle is decreased. And after that you have 1 hour after the exhaustion training and the treatment, or placebo, and 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. First of all, we will analyze the black line, so the placebo group. As you can see here, the placebo group is able to recover all over the course of the study. Of course, the muscle can recover by itself, but the recovery after 3 days is not complete.